Num num. Birdie num num.
When I have understanding of computers, I shall be the supreme being. God isn't interested in technology. He knows nothing of the potential of the microchip or the silicon revolution. Look how he spends his time. 43 species of parrots. Nipples for men.
Don't do that, Jesus Christ! You're gonna get me killed! Out of here!
Oh, Billy.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Merry Matrix and a Heilig New Year. And yes, this is my sort of a tongue-in-cheek Gnostic holiday greeting. I hope everybody's having a good holidays, or at least these cold, dark months are bearable. But my name is still Miguel Connor, and I am your Pompatus of Gnosis. Welcome, everybody, to AB Live. As always, we have an exciting show. This is an exciting show, a third installment of a fascinating series on Stanley Kubrick and his own high weirdness. So, glad to see everybody already going into the chat room. And as always, I'm sure you know by now, if you have any questions, please type them in all caps or a lot of question marks, or shoot a super chat, and we will try to get to you. But again, exciting show on Stanley Kubrick and his creations. So with us, I can't think of anybody better to cover this territory and even more than David Block. David, thank you very much for coming back.
Thank you for having me, Miguel. Very nice to be back. Time is flying fast. Winter already.
Yes, it is. Next week is the solstice. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, winter hasn't even started as I look outside at the snow.
And Sweden as well. Cold and dark and horrible.
The true great white north, but so it is. But everything is in cycles, and things will come around. And with us too, we've got the Moondog Vance. Vance, how are you doing? Vance is on mute. He's been silenced by the Yeti. Well, maybe.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, well, that's an indication of how I'm doing, huh? I can't find the mute button in the morning. Anyway, I was going to say, love The Shining. I've seen it several times. And for all those of you who are not familiar with it, don't worry. You won't feel like you don't know Jack after this.
Indeed. And David, have you watched Dr. Sleep?
Yeah, I saw it half a year ago, I think.
Same here.
Not as good, but it's okay.
Different. It's different.
Yeah, I mean, I did like it. Yeah, I mean, I think it tried to be loyal to The Shining, but it tried to appease Stephen King. You know, you could see trying to make Stanley Kubrick and Stephen King, who did not like each other's vision, supernatural, and it was okay. What did you think, Vance?
Oh, Rose was cool with the hat and everything. She was very attractive in the beginning, and then she fades into evil, you know, pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good part, maybe.
Well, it was a good movie, by itself, but it didn't really connect up with The Shining that much, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, I don't think it needed to be made, but it was a worthy try. And it happens. Well, awesome. Yeah. Well, I don't think I have some I always call it housekeeping, house cleaning, whatever you want to call it, cleaning the virtual Alexandria. Just want to let you guys know, thank you for all your support this year. It's things kind of were shaky, but suddenly Aeon Byte is again very hot in all metrics, definitely hitting one of the top religious podcasts in the United States, which is amazing considering the very obscure topic. So I really appreciate your support, and I promise you that the things will get just as intense. I'm sure 2023 will be full of more Archon shenanigans, maybe a world war. Who knows what's going to happen, but a financial crisis. But we'll be here for you, and we've got some great guests coming up. during the holidays and in January, including Dr. Stephen Flowers, who will be talking about the occult in Bolshevism. We will have some amazing minds that understand breaking down reality, breaking down conspiracy theories, the Hermetic and Gnostic ethos. These include James True, Jason Horsley, very excited to have him back. My friend Mitch Horowitz, Jason Reza Georgiani, another friend will be back too. And a whole bunch of great guests and great topics, both in Gnosticism and its satellites. So other than that, please keep supporting in any way you can. Many ways to support, and definitely support those in the alternative media. The more voices we have, the more we can break down the empire. So other than that, and another great researcher with great eyes on things is David. So David, shall we get started?
Yeah, it's time.
Let's do it. I will pull it up now. So we have here The Shining Part 3, an esoteric analysis dedicated to Stanley Kubrick by David Block. Part 3 of 3.
Yeah, I hope so. We can wrap this up.
Well, hopefully you can be back with another movie or another topic. But let's do The Shining. We will move slides. For those of you who might be thinking if I'm talking weird, it's because I might be describing, or David describing, some of the slides so that the audio audience can sort of get the gist of what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is in two parts. The last part, and I hope we can conclude and wrap this up today. There are quite a lot of information. I myself is an esoteric person. I'm not a conspiracy theory, so I analyze this from an esoteric standpoint, not a conspiratorial standpoint. And I don't think we have done any good analysis of the movie The Shining, so I tried to put it all together for you. But my background is an esoteric. Therefore, it's very important for you to understand that I'm not saying that esoteric practices are bad. If you use the method correctly, you will gain results and you will shine as a person. You will transform. And that's what I want to do in my life. That's what I'm doing. So I'm not condemning Freemasons, the Theleme, or anything. What I'm talking about is an elite who have used this knowledge for different purposes than the attended purposes, what we should use it for. Now and I think Stanley Kubrick knew this as well, and I will talk about it today. Let's start.
Slide 3, shall we? Part 1, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
That's where we start today. And of course, we are talking about The Wizard of Oz, the movie. And this is a movie that have been very poorly analyzed, according to me. And if you want me to do it, I can come back and do an analysis of the movie. I will go into it today a little bit, but only in a combination to The Shining, to enhance The Shining. But I can do the movie in and of itself later on if you want to.
Sure.
Yeah, next slide then. The Wizard of Oz was made in 1939, and that in of itself, you have the number 22 and the number of paths on the tree of life and the Cliffotic tree, the tree of death. But the movie is different from the book, and this is a very important thing. If you miss it, you will not understand what the movie is about. The analysis made on the movie is really an analysis of the book, not the movie. They are talking about the book because they view the movie as they read the book, but they've changed the narrative in The Wizard of Oz. It is not the wonderful Wizard of Oz. This is The Wizard of Oz. And in The Wizard of Oz, she's singing about rainbows, one day over the rainbow and so on. And this is a very, very important part of the movie and to understand The Shining as well. Yeah, next slide.
Yeah, that is true. I think the movie sometimes robs people because they think that's it. As a kid, I read the entire series and it's wonderful. It's a blast.
Yeah, the book is wonderful, and but the movie is actually very dark. They twisted the narrative, and no one seems to see it. In the movie, they're manipulating a child, Dorothy, to do the bidding of Glinda. She's not the one. She's not the nice witch. She is she is the dark witch, manipulating children to walk in her shoes, the red shoes. But in the movie, she's singing to about crossing the rainbow, one day over the rainbow. And we are, of course, talking about the moon room and the sun room, or the silver moon and the gold room. We are coming back to the shining here. Because in the esoteric practices, when we are crossing the rainbow, we are walking the path from Yesod, the moon, to Tiferet, the sun. You cross the rainbow on that path. And we do it for dream. You can do it through dreams, conscious dreams, astral dream, astral traveling, through dreams, dream work. And it's an esoteric method to go there. You all can teach or use a method to go the same path as Dorothy do. Yeah, we can take the next slide.
Okay.
And here, of course, we have the famous silver star, or AA, Aleister Crowley's star, Babylon. And you see 7-7. And in the gematria, in the Chaldean gematria, Os becomes 7-7. Therefore, the Wizard of Oz is the Wizard of Babylon, is the wizard that behind the curtain is Aleister Crowley, because he is the Wizard of Babylon, is the Wizard of Oz, 7-7. And I'm not going to analyze the movie, so we take it later on, but that's just food for thought. The man behind the curtain is Aleister Crowley.
Makes sense.
And you can see Babylon, and I know that Babylon is not a negative. It's about Mother Earth, the Holy Grail, the Scarlet Woman, and all of that. But what I'm claiming is that they are using it in nefarious purpose, bad purposes. So if you're into Thelema, I have nothing against you. It's how they use this knowledge. Yeah, next slide. In the movie The Shining, we can see Jack are falling asleep, and he have nightmares. He's dreaming, and he enters the astral plane, the moon plane, Yesod, or Gamaliel on the other side of the tree, the Cliphotic tree. And of course, this is the moon room in The Shining, room 237. And when he is dreaming, he confronts Lilith. And in the first part, I claim that Jack is Samael. And Samael is the demiurge in some traditions. The Gnostic shamanistic tradition, Samael is the demiurge. So what Stanley Kubrick saying a little bit is that Jack is the demiurge, Samael. But it's much more, you can expand upon it. I want to make it a little bit more complicated than that. But then if we say Jack is Samael, then it's a wrap. Then we have the demiurge, we have the one who we are done here.
Yeah, we found the bad guy.
We find the bad guy sleeping.
Yeah, he's asleep. We can go home. We can go to the Pleroma now.
Yeah, exactly. We can take the next slide. And I know for fact that Danny have confronted Lilith in the moon room. We know it because He is walking towards his mother, and you see his shirt is torn apart and very distant and far gone, because Lilith is known as the strangler of children and the source of all evil and pollution in the world. And you have it very clearly in the movie The Shining. So if you know what to look for, you see it clearly. It's not that Kubrick is vague or something. He just, it's hard just to start to wrap things up to go right. You need esoteric knowledge to decode the movie. But if you have, you can see this quite clearly in the movie. It's not like a huge mystery for me, but you have to, you need the knowledge to decode it. Yeah, next slide. So in The Shining, you have this scene. It is 1 hour and 9 minutes and 22 seconds in the movie. There is someone else in the hotel with us. There is a crazy woman in one of the rooms. She tried to strangle Danny, she says. The strangler of children and the source of all evil and pollution in the world is Lilith. So it's quite clear.
Right.
So far, it's quite straightforward. Yeah, we can take the next slide. Back to the Wizard of Oz, and they have the same theme, but in this movie, Dorothy is falling asleep and end up in Yesod or Gamaliel. And she has to walk the yellow brick road. And just to make one point cross here, if you put the 4 different elements from the minor arcana in the tarot card on the tree of life, then the yellow color yellow is the sword and your thinking capacity. And the symbol is the sword, air, yellow. And air, of course, is the elements that take Dorothy to the Wizard of Oz. And she has to walk the yellow brick road. It's the storm that takes her to the land of Oz. And she is dreaming. But this is very important because in esoteric literature, and to dream is a method. And when you dream and you enter the astral realm, it is as real as this is an illusion as well. The material world, the Asaya is an illusion as well. So what's real was unreal. For us, this is just another state of being. You can be there as well. So when people are talking about if she's dreaming or if she is there, for us, she's there. She's on the cliphotic tree. That's not any strange. It's self-evident for us. She's ended up on the cliphotic tree, the other side of the tree through a dream. Yeah, next slide. And here we have the Golden Dawn. And the Golden Dawn, Aleister Crowley was in the Golden Dawn for a period of time. And we can see there to the right in one big book, the Golden Dawn, Isla Regardi shows the rainbow. Just to show you that the symbolism is used quite often in esoteric method, practices, theories. So it's not any mystery for us. It's a common symbol. Yeah, next slide. All right, and I'm going to show you a thing that have been missed. And this is a very important detail. And part 2, Disney and the colors change. And we can see in the movie The Shining, Disney is a very big theme in the movie. Dan's shirt, and you have the cartoon figures on the doors, you have rainbows, and so on. And this is not a coincidence. Stanley Kubrick didn't do anything of coincidence. This is a very important detail. We can see it, Mickey Mouse on Danny's shirt, and we can see it in the doorways. And Danny had a shirt with the number 42 on as well. And that's because Danny is the number 42. It's the number of the fool. It's the number of the major arcana. Because Danny has the major arcana with him. Because he is able to transform from something to a higher state of being. Not to be the fool, but to transform from the fool. And so you have the dopey here as well. And that's a reference to the fool, of course.
Of course, yeah. 42 is, of course, holy in Egyptian lore. So interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And you have the number 42 in the Bible as well.
Oh, yeah.
So when the Bible says 40 years or 40 days,
right,
they are starting a new journey and try to find it to be complete. So when the number 41 comes up, they are on the journey to find a solution to the problem, to the spiritual problem they have to confront and to transform in order to go forward into their evolution. And the number 42 is completion. Now they have reached the shore or reach whatever they are searching for in spirituality matter, of course.
Right, no, it makes sense. Yeah, and 40 is the amount of weeks where a baby gestates. So, again, bringing forth something new, and different. So,
thank you, Miguel. I thought about that. Yeah, that was nice.
All right.
And here we can see a very common Wizard of Oz. You have the rainbow, and you have the Emerald City in the background, the city of Babylon. And it's Babylon, of course. They like to use words and terms and symbols. I know that Babylon is a reference to other things as well, but esoteric people like to play around with words, numbers. So, of course, they use it that way. The green Emerald City and the yellow brick road. And Dorothy is walking the yellow brick road with her red shoes. Yeah, next slide. A very interesting follow-up to the first movie was Return to Oz. And Return to Oz didn't become that famous. Many thought it was too dark for the kids, and the grown-up didn't like it that much either. But there are some important details about this film that have been missed. First off, Disney bought the right to the movie. So now they were the producer of the movie. And the release date of the movie was June the 21st, 1985 in United States. And the movie ain't that bad, but it's much more darker. And I think everyone should see it. There are some details in this movie, very interesting details. Yeah, next slide.
Right, yeah. Well, maybe they should let what's his name, J.J. Abrams direct a new Wizard of Oz series and just destroy the franchise once and for all, like he did with Star Trek and Star Wars and so many.
They're good at that.
Yeah. It looks like James Gunn is ready to destroy the DC series too.
Yeah,
the new Superman. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's horrible. In the movie Return to Oz, Dorothy finds a key, but it's a shooting star that comes with the key. The shooting star lands on her farm, and she go out and look for it and find the key. And with the key, she can return to Oz. And you can see a Zeta on the key she's holding there. Was interesting in this is, of course, Disney's logo after the movie, because now they changed the logo to the famous logo they've used ever since return to Oz. And of course, we all know the logo.
Yeah.
Next slide. And here we have it. So you have the city, Babylon, in the background. You have Walt Disney, and you have the shooting star going over the city of Babylon with the key Oz 77. So Disney is very heavily invested in Thelema and Aleister Crowley. So you have the rainbow, the key or the shooting star makes the rainbow over their Disney city, the Babylon. And I'm not saying that Thelema are bad here, but Disney doesn't use it.
I think we can all agree that Disney
way.
is, we can all agree that Disney is not good. That's
Yeah.
one thing. It's a money-hungry corporation, simply.
Yeah.
At best.
And they use Aleister Crowley's teaching in their own way. So if you are into Thelema, don't call me. I have a friend from Thelema, and I can tell you a very interesting story. One conversation I had with him, but I cannot do it now because I will take you off. But very, very interesting thing happened.
For another time, then. All right.
Yeah. One very important theme in Return of Oz is, of course, the transhumanistic machine theme. And you have robots and human combined with machine parts and so on. And it is it's not as good as the first one, but as I said, the first one is a dark movie as well, but they think it's good because it's color and music and so on, but it's a dark theme in both of these movies for sure. It is not the book, it's another narrative, and that has to be understood, otherwise you won't understand the movie, what they're trying to say with the movie. And also, The Wizard of Oz is a movie that starts the idea to expand the movie's narrative outside the movie, where the star, the actors become part of the narrative outside of the movie as well. Like Jim Carrey, for example, he was in The Truman Show, very, very interesting movie. And then he did The Man on the Moon, or I don't remember, was it The Man on the Moon? Or, yeah.
No.
And Jim Carrey himself became part of the narrative outside of the movie. And I think it starts from The Wizard of Oz, the first movie. And it's many layer upon layer of symbolism, narrative, numbers, and so on. Yeah, we can take the next slide. Yeah, part 3, The Wizard of Oz, just to hammer home some parts of it so we can combine it to The Shining. I promise I will come back to The Shining. In The Wizard of course, Dorothy is the fool. The difference between her and Danny is that Danny transcends and becomes something more and defeats Jack, defeats the Demiurge. But Dorothy is just the blind fool. She never knew she is the fool. She's just turned upside down. She is just bumbling around in the movie, doesn't learn anything, have been manipulated to do away with the Wizard of Oz, so Glinda can take over the Wizard of Oz as the Wizard of Oz. And that's the end of the movie, really. She sends Dorothy back, and Glinda is the one who takes her to Oz, and Glinda is the one who sends Dorothy back when she's had done what she's supposed to do there for Glinda. And Glinda is the one in the movie who gives Dorothy the shoes. But in the book, Dorothy find the shoes and take it on her own will, by her own will, because she likes the shoes. So this is completely turned upside down. But in The Shining, what Stanley Kubrick are saying that Danny begin as the fool, but transform and become something new through this ordeal with Samael and Lilith. Because there is a method to the madness with the Lilith and Samael, because you should confront those forces and transform them, not succumb to them, not to get destroyed by these forces, but transcend them. Transcend the demiurge, transcend the materiality, Asaya, from materia to spirit. But Dorothy just go from the material to the spirit and back again without any change. She's the same silly girl in the movie. Yeah, next slide. And we can see this line is very important, because I put the cards, the Major Arcana 1, 2, 3, and then change the row 4, 5, 6, and change row 9, 10. No, sorry, yeah, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 11, 12, and then 13, 14, and 15, all the way up to the number 21, and every row becomes 6. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Mm-hmm. And this row becomes 42, death, art, and the devil. And of course, Danny has to die. Danny's old self has to die. And with art craft making, with spirit, he rises up and defeats the devil, number 15. You can say it's the Yak Samael, the devil. And if you add 13, 14, and 15 together, you have got the number 42, the fool. Yeah, next. And we have it as well on the tree of death and of the tree of life, of course. And we can see the path, all this path lead to the gold room, or the sun room. And that's Thagirion, or Tiferet on the tree of life. And the path goes from Gamaliel, Yesod, or the moon room, because Danny enters the moon room, and now he has to walk 3 different roads to Thagirion, the sun room, gold room. And when we place these cards, the Major Arcana place them on this path on the tree of death and the tree of life, doesn't matter. You got 14 in the middle. That's the straight road from Gamaliel, the moon room, to the sun room, Thagirion, number 6. That's the straightest path. And then we have death and the devil. All this leads to the gold room, all the roads. And we have Samael, you see him, number 8 there, the poison of God. And the poison of God is very important here, because in the Space Odyssey, we will come to later, the pilot or the astronauts sit at the table, and he had a glass of wine at his side, and it's falling from the table and crash down on the floor, and the room shakes, because in esoteric practices is that if you take the poison Samael, you distort reality, and you ends up in the qliphothic, or the spiritual dimension of spirituality. So to take the poison Samael is to transform the material world into a more spiritual understanding, to go from materia to the spiritual. But we will talk about the Space Odyssey later on, but I just want to hammer home. You can see the poison of God, and you see Arab Sarak, and you see Gamaliel. All this path lead to Thagirion, the disputer. And this is the road Danny has to walk and defeat these spirits, these forces, to transform them from within. And if he fails, he will fall. And he will be caught in Thagirion, in the gold room. And his energy will be spent. And this is the realm of Balfigor. Balfigor is a very interesting demon lord who resides in the Cliffa number 6, Thagirion. Yeah, next slide. And here we have the rainbow come in again, because as I said before, when you take the path from Gamalia, the straightest path to the Thagirion, you cross the rainbow, as Dorothy was singing about the rainbows. Here we have the card Art, and that's the number 14. And this is the most, I think, one of the most exciting cards in the tarot card. Of course, Crowley have changed it as well to Art. And we have a lady in green here, mixing a cauldron. And we have a rainbow behind her. And in the rainbow, it says vitriol, or visit the interior of the earth, and by rectifying it, you will find the philosopher's stone. So in order to rectify yourself, you have to go inside of your inner void or your unconscious and make it conscious. You have to find the philosopher's stone within and transform it to something new, a new state of being. To take yourself apart and recombine yourself. You have solva et coagula, the phrase on Baphomet here as well. To solve and recombine yourself in a better fashion, in order to cut out everything in your psyche that doesn't serve you on your spiritual path, that are just in the way for your own transformation. And that's exactly what Danny has to do in order to defeat all these forces, all these demons. And Samael is, of course, the main villain here.
Yeah.
And that is Jack and Lilith, because they awaken Lilith, both of them. And this is the game they are playing, of course. This is the ordeal Danny has to go through. Yeah, we can take the next slide. So we have here the rainbow. And this is how it looks like when you are using the symbolism to go from the moon room to the sun room or gold room. You have to cross the rainbow to rise above it. And of course, this is a, yeah. Sorry,
I'm just reading Gamiel equals Yesod equals Violet equals Moon Room 9. Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So you have 9 and 6, and this is also very important. Number 6 and 9 to go from Thagirion to Gamal, you have 69, and I will come to that later on. Yeah. Can take the next slide. So this card ends up on the rainbow, exactly on the rainbow, and that's the reason why you have the rainbow behind the lady in green, the Ishtar or Isis, and she is mixing in a cauldron, mixing the transformation part to transform yourself, to recombine yourself in a better fashion, to better walk the spiritual path to godhood or to become something new. And in the end of the movie, we have Jack as Baphomet. And this is really a combination of Samael and Lilith. If you combine those forces, you got Baphomet. So this is also quite straightforward if you know some esoteric practices, that when Samael and Lilith comes together, this mixing of these energies, you got the Baphomet as a combined force from those two forces. That's the reason you see them mating or are engaged in sexual act in the movie The Shining, because they come together to have sexual act, and this is a lot of sexual energies. And of course, there is a method to this madness. This is not only fun, right? It's not sexual magic. It's not what people think it is, because people want to think it's like the nice part, but it is not really. It's a method, and it is, if you work with this kind of esoteric method with Samael and Lilith, you are raising your Kundalini force down from earth and up, the serpent force. The Kundalini awakens, and when you start to work with these forces, you start to awaken your Kundalini, your serpent force within you. But when you come up to your heart chakra, it's there the problem starts, and the heart chakra is where the sun or the gold room is. And if you don't manage to transcend it, to push up the sexual force above your heart and up into the cosmos or the universe and become all there is, and feel connected with this sexual forces, these creative forces, it will get stuck here. And it, instead of liberating you to feel you are part of cosmos, part of everything, you feel stuck, and you start to use sex as in a destructive manner instead. And that's exactly what we see here, and Kubrick talk about it over and over again. These pedophiles, this sex abusers of children, because they are stuck. They haven't done the ordeal of Samael and Lilith. They didn't transcend the sexual act. They use the sexual act to satisfy themselves. They have no vision of do it to be part of the cosmos through the sexual act. Then when the act is taking place, you cannot think of satisfying yourself or your partner. You have to transcend those thoughts. But if you fail badly. It's like falling down, really, and you can be possessed by this search, but it become a mute point, and you can be obsessive. So we see Jack as Baphomet, and it's because he and Lilith are one combined into this Baphomet. And we have a date, 4th of July, and in the USA, that's your day, isn't it?
All right. Yeah, this is it. Independence Day.
Independence Day. And it's much more to it than that, and I will talk about it soon. But this is the elite caught up in the gold room because they haven't done the ordeal. They've become victims of the esoteric method. They haven't transformed themselves. They're stuck. And if you get stuck in this room, it ain't good. And I'll come to that very soon, because now they have entered the realm of Belphegor, the Lord of the dead, and the Lord of miserable spirits. They are not dead, and they are not living. They have ended up in Tartarus, in the realm between death and life. That's the reason why Jack is the caretaker and always been the caretaker, because these people are stuck in Tartarus. They push the stone up the hill all day, every day.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I think the Gnostic texts write about the midst or the middle, the worst place to be. And
Yeah.
yeah, as you, I think you pointed out last time, in that picture at the end of The Shining with Jack Nicholson, he's got the hand up, hand down, like Baphomet, the as above, so below hermetic dictum.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not a bad thing either. So don't miss my point. It's about Mother Earth, the Kundalini, the rise of energy. But you cannot lose the ordeals, the esoteric ordeals, because if you do, you fall. And that's not a good thing. If you use this method, use it with care. That's all I say.
Yeah, and it should be mentioned there are legends in Judaism, esoteric Judaism. If Lilith and Samael join together, they destroy the world. So.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks too. Yeah.
Yeah, Judy and Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, Twin Peaks is a very interesting show. I have to see it again. It was a long time ago. I don't remember it. I was maybe too little. Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut. It's time for Eyes Wide Shut now, and I think everybody knows why.
Oh yeah, most obsessed. Yeah, when movies in the occult community, we can't get enough Eyes Wide Shut.
So let's decode it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie is set around the Christmas, and of course the Christmas is a Mithra celebration, and this is very important because a lot of the symbolism in the movie comes from Mithra, and you have the Christmas tree everywhere, you have the stars everywhere, and you have the rainbow a couple of places. And you have the color of Christmas is of course there because the narrative is built up, but you have the red, white, and green, and it's the Mithra color scheme. That's the color used by Mithra. Next. So you can see it in the flag. Everybody's seen the flag: green, white, red. There are a couple of different countries have the combination, but the color represent different classes of people. So you have the green, that's the working class. You have red, that's the warrior class, and that of course is Persian and Mithra color scheme. And you have white, and white is the esoteric elite. And from the beginning, you had Santa Claus in green, and then it became red. And either Santa Claus is a working class for an esoteric elite, or he's a warrior class of an esoteric elite, because he is the one who gives you presents, material stuff, so you get caught up in the material and possessed by things, presents, and keep you as a kid. They want you to be a kid. They want you to crawl down in the Christmas tree. Don't look up in the Christmas tree. Don't look up at the pomegranate or the sephiroths. Sephiroths from the tree of life you hang up in the Christmas tree. Because that is about transformation from material to the spiritual. As long as you only see the presence, the material stuff in the bottom of the tree and doesn't look up, that's where you will get stuck. And of course, in the movie, you have these 3 different classes. Next. And you have the evergreen tree, the Christmas tree. And it's because it's green every season. The color doesn't fade. It's green, and the Christmas tree is a very important symbolism. and goes back to Persia. And
Yeah, my cats got their Christmas present. Just last night, they knocked down the Christmas tree 4 times. The destruction of heirloom balls and ornaments is a beautiful thing, but what are you going to do? They are the tricksters.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, so you can see here. And you have the Tree of Life, and you have the Sephiroths. And that's in the Christmas tree, you have the balls. You hanging them up in the tree. And another name for the Sephiroths is Pommelgranaten, of course, and that's the fruit.
Right.
A symbol for the Sephiroths. And then you have a star on the top of the tree. And I mean, you can have a different version of it, but if I have to take a guess, I say it's Sirius on the top of the Christmas tree. And I will show you why, but that's what I think. You can have different stars if you want to. Yeah. And in the movie, of course, the main character, Tom Cruise, what's his name in the movie? Oh. Tom Cruise character is walking around, and he is, of course, a working class, the green class, and they are very busy in fixing the Christmas, buying presents, running around in different stores, playing the fool. They don't know what's going on. They have no clue what it's a Mithra holiday. They're just bumbling around. But in the movie, he enters the esoteric elite, the white color in this Mithra color scheme. And he's not welcome there, of course. And there are a lot of speculation. What kind of a cult is this? This is Illuminati. I heard everything.
No. The stonecutters, who knows?
Yeah. And to be honest, I think Kubrick combined different esoteric practices and made the elite, because elite use different esoteric practices. But if I have to mention one, I have to say the Fraternitas Saturni. Because it's a very Saturnian symbolism here with black, red, and yeah, the hat, the mask, and everything. And that was a sex cult dedicated to Saturn. I haven't read their esoteric practices. I don't know what they are about. But if I have to take a guess, it sounds like there are people who have failed in their Samuel and Lilith ordeal, and now they are just indulging in sexual activity under Saturn rule, under materiality, without any real intent to transform and go forward.
Right.
But that's just at the top of my head. Take it for what it is.
Yeah, the Roman soldiers loved the Mithric practices.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very warrior-like.
Oh yeah.
Esoteric practice, and of course there is a method to the madness as well. If you communicate with the Watchers, and I can talk about them and what they are saying. They are like saying that we humans evolve through pain. That's how we transform and go forward. Yeah, next. So where does the rainbow ends? A metaphysical place and a physical place. The metaphysical place we have talked about in the movie The Shining. But there is a physical place, and I stumbled upon this, and this is a new revelation for me. I got it in the summer when I did the first and the second part. So I have to take back, because I think in the first part I said it's only a metaphysical place, but it is a physical place as well. And Kubrick tried to tell you about it. And hopefully I can prove it today. Or try to, I cannot say I know so, but I will show you the evidence and you are my judge.
There you go. Make a good argument.
Excellent.
So, all right, part 5, transhumanism and posthumanism. Since we're part 5, Vance, any questions? And while you ask the questions, I'm going to let the cat out, so I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah.
We
didn't have a lot of questions, but and this goes back to the Wizard of Oz. Grandpa was wondering about the correlation between Oz and Kansas.
Yeah.
The connections between the two places.
There is none what I can see right now, because I think they just choose Kansas as the place Dorothy was living in before her journey, but she could live in New York, doesn't matter. She can travel from New York to Oz as well through dreams. Why they choose Kansas, I don't know. Maybe there is something more to it than I know.
It's a good place for tornadoes.
Yeah, it can be as simple as that, yes. Because the thing is that she had to go to, in the movie, they used the element air, the sword in the minor arcana, and the color yellow. That's the reason why she has to go walk on the yellow brick road. And Kansas, maybe, I don't know much about Kansas, but you do. And if it is windy there, then you have a connection there, I think.
Because it's flat, it's very flat.
Yeah, it's no mountains.
Yes, nothing to climb. And Christopher was talking about the Wicked Witch. I didn't hear you mention too much about the Wicked Witch and the role, who they correspond to.
Yeah, the Wicked Witch in the movie, they have turn it around. So the Wicked Witch is really Glinda, but the Wicked Witch in the Black Witch, I cannot say what part she's playing, but in the book she's the Wicked Witch for sure, because then Dorothy has to overcome her and defeat her. But in the movie she's like fading more into the background, more so than in the book. She's just become a obstacle, just something she has to go through. She doesn't have the same role in the movie.
Yeah, I haven't read the book in a long time. And did they have in the book? Did Miss Gulch still want to take the dog away? And that was a big thing.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, yeah. Now it was a couple of months, maybe a year since I read the book. But I remember in the book she was more like wicked, like more straightforward, a wicked witch Dorothy had to defeat. In the movie, yeah, she's wicked, but she's not the main villain. It is really Glinda who portray herself as the good witch, but she ain't. If you watch the movie again, you will see that Glinda is manipulating Dorothy to do her bidding.
Oh yeah.
And Glinda is the one who sends Dorothy back, not the shoes. Because when she are talking about the shoe, put the shoes together, Glinda is behind her with her wound and doing this over her head. But Dorothy think she's going back because of the shoes, but it's Glinda send her back because now no one is left besides her. The Wicked Witch, so-called Wicked Witch, is dead. Dorothy killed her with the water. but she's not the real wicked witch here. If you follow me, it is Glinda who is the wicked one in the movie.
Yeah, there's just a war between the witches somehow that
Yeah,
Dorothy got caught in the middle of.
yeah, and the reason why the witches doesn't do the work for themselves in the book, they let you know that the witches are afraid of the mighty Wizard of Oz. So Glinda are afraid of the mighty Wizard of Oz. She sends Dorothy to do her bidding because she's afraid.
All right. Well, why don't we get to transhumanism?
Yeah. Ursa Major and the Anunnaki Stargate system, just to make some points across here. The idea here is, of course, that you should transcend our planets in our solar system, one at a time. And you start with the moon and start to work with the forces of the moon. And that's very hard to do. That's the first step. You have to wake up to the fact that there is a spirit component in you. And that's a huge step for most people to take. So to overcome the moon is the first step on the Anunnaki Stargate system. And you can call them the archons if you want. They are the archons you have to transcend and to transform and to rise up from. And in the end of them, you have Saturn. That's the most harshest forces, materiality, time, schedule. Some say it's Saturn who creates the material illusion. And that's the last planet you work with on the Stargate system. So you take one step at a time and you work with the different forces of the different planet in our solar system until you reach Saturn, and you crack open Saturn and you ascend the planetary sphere and up to the zodiac sphere and beyond through the fixed stars. The fixed stars are 15 fixed stars, among them Sirius are one of them. So you crack open Saturn cube, the cube of Saturn, and you leave the materiality. And the idea here is to break the reincarnation circle, so you don't have to come back. You have escaped the demiurge, you have escaped the archons, you have left the material plane for good. But if you can't do it, if you have lost your spark within you, or your soul, someone say soul, I say light source within you, you cannot transcend it. And I think there are an esoteric elite with us who have lost their spark. So if you have lost your spark, you cannot go back to the creator, to the light, through this method. Then why trying? If you have been taken out from the creator's light, if you have snuffed out your light, then you can try to do it with force and technology instead. Or you can say, fuck it, I want to be a god in this material world instead, because I cannot transcend to the creator. Better to be king in hell than be part of the light. And then the game become instead, how can I reincarnate back with my memories intact from the previous life, so I can continue my game over and over and over again. And it's easier to reincarnate back into your own family lines, as the elite family do, or the kings and queens.
Right.
And then they can continue their game here. And really they become the agents of the demiurge if you want to. Because they are not interesting to let us go either. Because we are part of their game.
Right.
And if we are too many, okay, they can sacrifice us. But in the end, humanity will rise up again, and we come to this point again, and on it goes, reincarnation for reincarnation. And of course, our role is to overcome them and transcend them. So it's like, yeah, it's
Atlantis rising, yes, yes.
exactly.
It will rise again.
And I think Atlantis was the end of the circle before the technology destroyed Atlantis, and this elite class start to rule us through the technology left from Atlantis. And they didn't want to share it with us, because if they have technology we haven't, they are the one who control us. But they need us to recreate the infrastructure to put it in place again.
Right.
Okay, we have NASA 11 called Gemini, and this number 11 is very important in esoteric lore or theory and method. You have the famous word abrahadabra equals 11. And 1 to 11, if you count it, you get the number 66. And number 66 is a reference to the Qliphothic tree. And according to the Watchers, and this is very important, they have the tree of life is really the tree of death. Because if you use the tree of life, your intention is to break the reincarnating circle and not come back and be part of the creator. That's death for them. But if you use the Qliphothic tree, you want to be God in materiality. Then that should be the tree of life. So it seems to be a little bit, I don't know. But for me, the reason why I use the Qliphothic tree and the Watchers is because they accept your free will as a warrior. So if you want to transcend and want to go back to the creator, they won't stop you. But if they choose, if they say, I choose for you, I want you to become a god with us in materiality. And we will overthrow the demiurge, the golem god, who keep you as slaves, because that's not your purpose. Your purpose is to become gods here with us. So it's 3 different paradigms here, what they want. It's very complicated, but it is what it is. Yeah. And I can tell you the story from the point of view of the Watchers if you want to in a show. And they are not saying that doesn't come from the creator. They know they come from the creator. What they don't like is the demiurge who pretend to be a god over us and keep us as a slave. And they call the demiurge the golem god. And is Samael the demiurge then? Depends on what you mean by it. Samael, of course, if he chose, you become a god with him on the material plane. So he's a stumbling block if you want to go to the light, because of course he wouldn't stand in your way if you slip and fall into materiality, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But I would say that Jehovah and Lilith is also the demiurge, the golem god, they call him. And, yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah, and here we have the skull and bones. And one more time, I'm not saying that all of them are evil. I see more than one agenda here. It's not that easy, black and white, good and evil. It's much more complicated than that. This polarity is important for us in order to grow and learn what it means to be what we can call evil, what what we mean when we're talking about to be a good person. We need to understand this polarity. We need to understand these forces. And in the skull and bones, you have the number 66 encoded. In that, if you take 3 plus 2 plus 2, you got 7. If you take 32 plus 2, you get 34. If you get 3 plus 22, you get 25. And if you add them together, you get 66. And this is the different combination of the letters 3, 2, 2. If you take 32 times 2, you get 64. And if you take 3 times 22, you get 66. And you have this skull. And this is important because this symbol can mean a lot of things. That's the reason why it's not easy to say this is what it means. But often when we're talking about Saturn, we have the skull, death, time. If you have too much time, if you take too much time, you will die. Mm-hmm. But it can also be talking about Belphegor, the Lord of the Dead, Lord of the Tartarus, the one who have failed the ordeal and become stuck between the worlds. They have been stuck in the gold room, stuck between the tree of life and the tree of death, if you want to. And this Thagirion is called the Black Sun as well. And some say it's Saturn, but in an esoteric left-hand path practice, Black Sun is Thagirion, 666. And there, Belphegor is the demon lord. And there is the gold room. To mine gold, to mine your energy, to mine your spirit, to get you, caught you in places between life and death, to feed on you. And one way to explain it, maybe in easier term, is of course to go to the wonderful movie The Matrix, because in The Matrix, Neo is waking up in this caboose, hooked up with tubes in expanded sleep, and they suck him dry of energy because he's not dead, but he's not living either. No. He is in Tartarus. He's a battery for the machine. It's Belphegor's realm, Tartarus. Yeah, next slide.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, now we come to 2001: A Space Odyssey a little bit, and we have HAL, the hologram reality. And the matrix reality, and HAL is an artificial intelligence, or AI, and lead the astronauts on a journey towards our planets. First they go to the moon, and then they are going to Jupiter, but I think they should go to Saturn. Wasn't that the idea from beginning? That would be more correct. Jupiter is okay, but they should go to Saturn, but we can take it later on. But if you take away the zeros, you have 9, of course, and that's a reference to the moon, Yesod, and the moon room. And in Kabbalistic key, 9 is a number of initiation. Because the moon, when I talked about the Anunnaki Stargate system, the moon is the first planet you have to overcome these forces. You have to go into your underworld, your unconscious, and to rectify it, you have to bring it up. To take away your limitations, things that get you stuck in materiality, our fears, because this is you cannot be a coward if you go in this path. You have to take away all your worries, everything that holds you back as a human being. You have to confront the darkness within us all. Yeah, next slide. And this is a very interesting phenomenon, and everybody knows about CERN maybe. And CERN give away an art prize every year. And one year they gave a prize to a woman who created a tarot deck called Hexen 2.0. And in the deck they have all the major arcana and minor arcana, and card 18, of course, is the moon. And we can read on this card, among other things, transhumanism, AI, cloning, mind uploading, post-humanism, biological computers, and so on. And CERN is a very interesting project, and I cannot talk too much about it. But as you can see, there is an idea of AI and transhumanism connected to the moon. And in the movie 2001, this signal, this black monolith, point the astronaut towards the moon as the first visit they should go to. They should go to the moon and explore it. Yeah. Now we come into the Space Odyssey 2001 and the Rainbow Bridge. And I hope I have got my points across now, because now I will show you a very, very interesting thing. And I talked about NASA and the Kubrick and a lot of different ideas here. I'm not into the route that he did the fake moon landing movies and all that. I think Kubrick would have done a much better job out of it.
Yeah, he was a perfectionist. Everything would have been perfect.
We would believe it.
Right. We wouldn't have all the mistakes that the actual footage has. No, just kidding.
Yeah, Ed Wood actually did the moon landing footage.
I think he's talking about a much more interesting thing. And this is what I've stumbled upon with my research around the moon. Yeah, we can take the next slide. Arthur C. Clarke wrote a book, and he was talking about horned aliens. For me, he's talking about demons, watchers. They are very common. They have horns. They have wings. They have tails. I'm not very fond of the alien paradigm as it is today. I think it's much more complicated. I think a lot of manipulation are done to program false memories into people. And I'm a little bit afraid that they will use it against us in an alien invasion or whatever to stampede people. So be very careful what you believe in. But if we are talking about demons, I know them because I have communicated with them, so I know they exist. I know what they want. Their main interest is evolution, human evolution, to push you forward. But for me, I'm not that fond of the idea to be gods on material plane. I'm a little bit afraid of it, because then our technology with us will become dangerous. I think we can bomb ourselves back to the Stone Age again, and we will pick us up from there again. I think we come to this point in time where we have an opportunity to escape the matrix, and I think we should take it. But that's only what I feel. I'm not saying what you have to believe or what you...
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move away from our Arthur C. Clarke, our favorite PEDO, but I won't say the word, but All right.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh, huge one. Huge.
Oh, man.
It's out in the open, very documented, even by the mainstream media.
Wow.
Right. So,
Yeah, where it went a little bit sour was through Jack Parson, and Jack Parson took over after Crowley. It's not as the main Kenneth Grant took over, but Jack Parson was the one who pushed the method forward. And Jack Parson was a rocket scientist. And here we see how the esoteric method, esoteric philosophy meet technology. And we have more of a transhumanistic method, combine technology with esoteric knowledge. And if the technology becomes very powerful, then in the end, it will meet esoteric practices and beliefs, because the technology is based on metaphysical technique. If you create a UFO, it doesn't force your way through the air. You create a hole and end up somewhere else, and that's a metaphysical endeavor. That's a metaphysical thing. And that's what esoteric practices are talking about, the metaphysical, the cliphotic tree, the universe B, and so on. And of course, the Nazis were all about this as well.
oh, yeah.
But Jack Parson is a very interesting character, and he have one crater on the moon in his name, the Parson crater. So he is important, and the NASA, the moon landing was an esoteric collaboration between the Freemason, the OTO, and the Nazis. So it's an esoteric endeavor, and what they found there is very important, because they found something on the moon they don't want you to know about. And that's what Kubrick tried to tell you. Next slide. So we have the moon room, and I stated in the first part that it was not the physical moon, but I stumbled on evidence that it is a place on the moon he's talking about as well. It is both the moon room, Yesod, Clifford, the tree of Clifford, but it is also a physical place on the moon. And I will take you there now. So in the movie Eyes Wide Shut, two nice ladies ask the character, where does the rainbow ends? Do you want to go where the rainbow ends, they ask. So where does the rainbow ends? The rainbow ends in Thagirion, the realm of Balfigor, the realm of the dead, or not the dead, not the living, but in Tartarus. And you can be caught there if you are failing the ordeals of Samael and Lilith. But it is also a physical place. Yeah, next slide. So Kubrick and a moon secret. And this is the reason why you have the NASA theme in the movie The Shining as well. It's a combination. He tries to tell you two different things. He is trying to tell you about the metaphysical Thagirion, about this elite who are having a mining operation, you can say. I think they are very deliberate. They want to use and abuse our energy source. And you can have this on different level if you want to. You can say that they want to use and abuse you until you die, and then you will come back again, and they can use and abuse you again over and over again, as long as they can convince you not to ascend to the metaphysical, not to take the fool's journey. But you can make it deeper than that if you want to And that's up to you. I'm going to tell you about it. How far you want to go with this
Right.
is totally up to you. Kubrick and the Moon Secrets. Disney and Pixar are talking about Apollo 11 with the Buzz Lightyear and all of that. And of course, it's a reference to Buzz Aldrin. And Buzz Aldrin was a 32nd Freemason.
Right. Yeah.
And they are talking about he's faking the moon landing. I don't believe that. I believe there's another explanation. But here again, you have Disney coming back into this paradigm I'm trying to portray to you. And it's coming at you over and over and over again until you start to see a connection here. If you know what I mean. Disney, Wizard of Oz, Stanley Kubrick, the moon landing. It's all a big jigsaw puzzle here. Yeah, the next slide. So a physical place 237. Let's go to that place on the moon and pinpoint it. Next slide. So there is a place on the moon called Sinus Iridum. And if you translate it from Latin to English, it becomes the Bay of Rainbows.
Oh, wow.
And you can see the shape of the place. It's shaped like a rainbow. And there are mountain ridge. The next slide. And the Sinus Iridium is 237,000 square feet. So if you take away the zeros, you have 237 square feet. Exactly as the moon room 237. And zeros are taken away in numerology or gematria in esoteric practices. So you have the Bay of Rainbows 237 or 237,000 square feet. And on that location, next slide, you find constructs. And this is not taken by NASA. This is taken by a person called Bruce Cecil. And he has his own, what do you call it? He do his own work. And this is his film on Sinus Iridium.
Wow.
And I think Stanley Kubrick knew about this structure, these artificial structures on the moon.
I can see Vance's house from there.
The first man on the moon
Yeah,
was Vance.
first suburban guy mowing his yard.
That's why my lawn can't grow.
Yeah, next slide. And here you have Bruce's old channel. He is on YouTube. And he has helped me a lot. He doesn't know about this. He hasn't put it together. So if anybody know him, you can call him and tell him, say hello from me, and thanks. But he says 2018, amazing. It's all I can say. The surface at ground level, both Sinus Iridium and the north side of the moon. So something is on the moon, that's for sure. And I think Stanley Kubrick knew about it when he worked for NASA. He stumbled upon this. Mm-hmm. And in 2001: A Space Odyssey, they go to the moon and find this artificial structure at the mountain ridge. And that ridge is Sinus Iridium on the moon.
Wow.
That's my conclusion. And one more thing about it, the reason why I stumbled upon it was like, I remember the number 237,000 square feet. And I was like, I have to remember this because this might have something to do with The Shining and the moon room. And 1 year later, when I started to talk to you, Miguel, I remember it, and I search and search and search for it. And when I translated the word, it became the Rainbow Bay. I like, yeah, this is interesting. So I feel I have to mention it.
Very cool. All right, part 2, Sirius the Silver Star.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Pixar movie. The title of a Pixar movie.
Yeah, now we will go a little bit deeper down and a little bit more speculative. So if you want to go here or not, it's totally up to you. I will try to convince you that it is something to it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so we have the moon room, or the sun room, Thagirion. And you have the date 4th of July, and you have Baphomet. Jack doing the Baphomet, or Samael and Lilith combine into this Baphomet force. And as above, so below, or as below, so above. Yes, we can take next slide. And in USA, as you all know, the 4th of July is an important day for you. And USA was started by a bunch of Freemasons. And a very interesting agenda here. You can see Washington roads and are shaped like stars and Venus or star pentagrams and hexagrams and all of that. But the number 33 is, of course, a reference to the highest grade in Royal Ark Freemasonry, the Scottish Rite. But 33 is also the number of Sirius. So in your flag is not Venus, it is Sirius. The star Sirius in the USA flag. Next. The 4th of July is an important day, as mentioned before, and between 21st June and 22nd July, it is the Crab or Cancer, star sign Cancer, and it's ruled by the moon. And that's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Ruled by the moon and the exiled Saturn. Remember the date 21st of June to 22nd July. The star sign is Cancer. Next slide. Many believe we have a twin sun, and it's very probable. I think 80% of all stars have a twin star or twin sun. And many believe our twin sun is Sirius. It means they are connected in some way. There's a connection between the stars. And this is very interesting because in esoteric method and philosophy, the black sun, Thagirion 666, is connected to Sirius. So if you go through the sun, our sun, to the other side, you end up in the Sirius current. So if you end up between the worlds, if you don't go through the ordeals, you end up in this Tartaros, this between life and death place they are talking about in The Shining. And if you go through the ordeal, it seems what they are suggesting is that you become one with the Sirius current. That is what Alice Crowley are talking about, Freemasons are talking about, and Kenneth Grant are talking about Sirius. Alice Crowley is more reluctant to talk about Sirius. He's talking about in Silver Star, a little more like symbolic term. He doesn't state it right, but he's talking about Sirius as well. And to my goal, if there is a connection with this sun, And if you have a type 2 civilization, they are talking about the difference between our civilization type 1 and a type 2 civilization is that in a type 2 civilization, they can use the solar energy and power for themselves and start to use it. And I think there have been such a civilization on this planet before. Atlantis, we are calling it. And it means that you should be able to transform the solar energy from our Helios, our sun, to Sirius, to mine gold, to send this current back and forth through the number 666. And you have CERN logo 666, and they have put up a Shiva statue on the yard. And the Shiva statue, you can read about the Tower card in Thoth Tarot by Aleister Crowley, and he's mentioned Shiva in combination to the Tower card number 16. And suddenly you have the CERN with the logo 666, Black Sun, Gold Room, Sun Room, Belphegor, and the Shiva statue, because CERN is the new Babylon.
Makes sense.
It's the Tower of Babylon. And the idea here is to mine gold or reconnect our sun to the Sirius current through technology, not from your own effort, mentally, inward transformation, but through technology instead. Yeah. And we have a very interesting glyph, Sotis Sirius. Between July the 4th and 5th is the connection between the sun and Sirius at its peak. The connection is at its highest peak, the 4th and the 5th of July.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And you have the glyph Sotis Sirius. You have an obelisk, and you have a 5-pointed star, Sirius, and you have a dome, or the womb of Isis, the birth, a new Aeon or a new star. Yeah, next slide. And you have the Great Pyramid at Giza Plateau. One of the shafts point towards Sirius. And I think the Great Pyramids was a mining to remove energy from one star to another, among other things, to remove or move solar energy source power. Among other things, they were used for many different reasons. But that was one of them, I think. And I think they removed a lot of technology from the pyramids. It ain't there any longer. But it's built like a power plant. And yeah. And Washington Monument construction started July the 4th, 1848. And the measure is 555 feet or 6,660 inch height, or 169 meters, our system. But then yet again you have the number 666.
Right.
And it ends up coming up over and over again. And it's a reference to the black sun. So if we have 111, a reference to our sun, the square of the sun, you have all the rows end up in 111. So you have 911. If you count 1 to 9, you got the number 45, and if you count 1 to 11, you have the number 66, and 45 plus 66, you got 111, a solar number. So you have a human sacrifice to the black sun ritual. and you see the man who was falling in the shape of the hanged man, if you remember that. And that row, if you use my system, is card 10, 11, and 12. And 10, 11, 12 becomes 33. The hanged man, the sacrificed man, number 33 to Sirius current. A solar sacrifice ritual. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just tell you what they are saying with this.
No, you're just deciphering the symbolism.
Yeah,
it is. Those are the facts.
Yeah, just take it for what you want.
Yeah, run with it.
I just pointed out. Yeah, the next slide. So you have the Royal Ark of Freemasonry. You have this beautiful symbol, and in the bow and higher up you have a stone with a Cancer sign 69, and it's looked like the number 69. And of course, one more time, 69 is of course a reference to the moon room, the sun room, or Yesod and Tiferet, or Thagirion and Gamaliel. And you have the moon as a ruler of the sign of Cancer. And of course, they try to mock the conspiracy theorist. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I don't care. I just tell you what they are saying. So CERN, which is the acronym in French language for the European Organization for Nuclear Research, has long been the target of fantastical conspiracy theories. So it should come as no surprise that on July the 5th, when the current between our sun and Sirius is at its peak, 2022, when scientists at CERN fired up the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, after 3 years of upgrades and maintenance work, some conspiracy theories would fire up too. Well, I don't fire up, I just point out the fact that if you know the esoterica behind it, it's very interesting for me. 3 years, after 3 years, they chose the date July the 5th, 2022 to start it all over again. Yeah, next. Jason Reza Giuliani made a very interesting statement about the card in the Major Arcana, and he said that he thought it was a Mithraic Persian tradition method, and that the card should be 80 in number, and the Major Arcana should consist of 24 cards. And I thought, this is interesting. Let's see what happens if I use it in my method. With my method, by you have the first card 1, 2, 3, and then you change row to 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, and all the way up. Then you have the middle pillar becomes 100. And the last row, 22 plus 23 plus 24, becomes 69, equals 6. And you have the sign of Cancer. There are crab claws, but the number 69 is also there. And of course, then you have 888 instead of 777, and the full card disappear and gets changed into another card. And what the card 22 and 34 would be, we don't know. But interesting numbers come up when you do that. And you can see here the number 10, 11, 12 with the hangman become 33. Wheel of Fortune, Lust, and the hangman ends up in the same row. And interesting enough, a person from 9/11 was falling as the hangman from the building. The hanged man in 9/11. You can look it up. Yeah. So you have the number 69 and you have the number 100 in the middle pillar, and it ends up with a tower in top. Next slide. Okay, so we have a very interesting pattern start to emerge, not only movies, books, but also from the Bible, because Jesus was sacrificed, crucified at the age of 33 with 3 nails, and a nail in Hebrew letter, a nail is vav, and a vav is number 6. So he's crucified with 3 nails, 666, to the current of Sirius as a energy source sacrifice to Sirius. Of course, this is a method to the madness, as I told you, because if you manage to overcome this ordeal, then you exit in a way from the matrix. But you risk ending up as a human source or energy source for them instead. That's the ordeal. You get stuck in Tagirion with Belphegor, in Time Tartarus, and become a human battery in the movie Matrix. That's not good. But you see, Series 33, Freemasons, the highest degree, 33. Jesus died at the age 33. The Bethlehem Star, the 3 Magi's, the 3 wise men follow the Bethlehem. That's Sirius, of course. So you have the New Testament is a story about a person who tried to transcend and become one with the Sirius current by risking becoming a human sacrifice battery instead, source to Sirius. And we can see in the star card, you have a lady, Isis, Ishtar, holding 2 grails, one of gold and one of silver. She's pouring the energy from the sun cup, the sun grail, and empty it with the silver grail or the moon grail. And you have a current as above, so below. You have the flow of, but you can reverse this as well. You can take the energy from here and transport it to Sirius. It goes both ways. And in the card you have the 7-pointed Babylon star, OS 77, and that's Sirius. And you have Venus as well. And you have the hero dog of 9/11 called Sirius, of course.
Of course.
And in the Truman Show, you have the demiurge in the moon, and the studio lamp is falling down, and it's of course Sirius.
Serious, yeah.
Yeah, because Truman is the bumbling fool, and he managed to overcome these forces and escape the demiurgic material realm. And the demiurge is, of course, Christoph in the moon. And if they have artificial constructs on the moon, and if they are talking about an interplanetary internet, they can connect via the moon, then you have an energy source to the moon. Maybe already have. And we come to HAL, and we come to the signal in Space Odyssey 2001, Sinus Iridium. And what Stanley Kubrick tried to say here is that you can travel in as long as you want. You can create a new colony on Mars. You can create a new city on the moon, but it doesn't make you doesn't transcend you. You have to stop, turn off HAL, and start to transform yourself from within. You cannot escape from yourself. Doesn't matter how far out you go. Mm-hmm. It's when he turn off HAL, and when he has to confront himself, when he drink the poison of Samael, and he starts to transform himself, and through that ordeal he become the star child or the newborn. Yeah, next slide. Here you have the missing stone, but we have not the sign of Cancer on it. It's just empty, it's blank, and underneath it you have Venus, or even maybe Sirius. But the 69 is missing. But in the Esoterica, Thagirion 666 is the black sun and is connected to Sirius. And maybe that's esoteric secrets, but I know. Who cares? I mean, the knowledge is out there, but you have to search and you have to find the right books. I just put it together. Next slide. So you have the silver star, Babylon 77, and it is Sirius. Our twin sun, the black sun, or you reach Sirius through the black sun. You have to go through our sun. And maybe we don't know where the power source come from. That's our sun takes there, where the source comes from our sun. Maybe our sun take its source from Sirius. That's why I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, next slide. And just to make it clear one more time, the star in the tarot card, the star is Sirius. Venus is there as well, but the main star here they are talking about is Sirius. And we also see the moon and the connection between the sun and the moon, Sirius.
Makes sense.
Next slide. Just to show you how they're using this now, just to convince you that they are using this. Very, very fast decode over Toya, Norway, our neighbor. I don't know if you remember this tragedy. A lot of young people died on an island outside Oslo, Norway. And the main villain was Anders Breivik, and they dressed him up as a Freemason. And this occurred on the Toya 22nd of July. We are still in the sign of Cancer here, 69 or 69.
Right.
Next slide. So you have the capstone, or you have the Royal Ark of Freemasonry, and you have 69 there. And the star sign Cancer is from 21st of June to 22nd of July. Sorry, a little bit Swedish came. A little bit harder to understand. Next slide. So 69 people died 22nd of July in the sign of Cancer, plus 8 people in Oslo, makes total 77 people died 22nd of July in the sign of Cancer. Toya, the 22nd of July. So it's a sun sacrifice ritual.
Yeah, no doubt.
And there you have it. And yeah, it's fast to decode this when you can see it. And they are using this all the time. 9/11 is not
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice to figure out the Vegas shooter, although that was a harvest. Saturn sacrifice too. But anyway, we can get into that another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are all the spaceship. Everything's a big magic ritual for these people.
Yeah.
For lack of better words, I don't want to swear too much.
And I mean, they expanded from film narrative to outside movies to real life. They are horrible people.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. Completely mad. Conclusion 2001, A Space Odyssey. What Stanley Kubrick's trying to say here is that he's not against these forces. What he's saying is we have to overcome them and work with them, not flee from them. Doesn't matter how far you will reach outside our planet. That's not our goal, to civilize different planets. We will only take our planet with us. It is where we stand, where we can dig gold, where we can transform. It is to go within, to within ourselves. When the astronaut stands still, when he has turned off HAL, and when he sits at the table, the wine glass is falling from the table to the ground, and it shatters. And from there, the reality gets distorted. That is what we are talking about in esoteric lore when we're saying the poison of Samael. When you take it, you realize that the material world ain't that material at all. It's a matrix. And we are here to transcend this matrix from within. There is a certain human elite who cannot transcend from within. They have lost their spark. For them, it's a game to have us return into the game so they can play us again and use our energy source, our gold, DNA, Ormus. They use us as their source in the gold room, in the shining. Through this technology, we will also have the opportunity to transform. So there's nothing wrong with the technology, but we as a species have to decide how much influence this technology should have over us. When the technology takes over our spirituality, then we are in big trouble. And we risk to end up like them. By losing our spark, we become like them, and then we are no match for the artificial intelligence, because they cannot have the spark as you can. They are machines. They can be much more clever than you are. They cannot be as strong as you, as in Matrix, as Neo. He can be stronger than Smith because they are still part of a system. There is some component in you that can transcend the system. They don't want you to use that spark. But they cannot hinder you when you start to ignite, when you turn on the Promethean flame, when the spark is burning within you, they cannot stop you. Only your own fears can stop you.
Well said indeed. Yeah. I think, if not, we'll be like Gurdjieff said, we'll be walking robots and food for the moon. Literal food for the moon.
Yeah, exactly. Conclusions to The Shining. There is a human esoteric elite, so-called elite, because I don't consider them to be. But they have a lot of knowledge, and I think they have kept it from the time period of Atlantis. There was a faction of the esoteric elite from Atlantis who have taken the technology path. They have lost their spark. Then the game becomes for them to be gods in the material world, because they couldn't be part of God or a metaphysical God in that sense. Now their game involves you, because they need you to recreate the infrastructure they had during the time of Atlantis. And during the time of Atlantis, I think the technology was so advanced that they can use solar power for their own benefit, to send solar energy from one sun to another, from our sun to Sirius, back and forth via a connection, and via the moon, and through the moon to Tiferet, the sun. There is a connection there. And I think that is what they are talking about with the Anunnaki gods who came here to mine gold, because I don't believe for a second that the Anunnaki was so interested in gold that they start to make humanity, create humanity to mine the gold for them. No, they create the humanity so they can take our sun source to mine us and mine our sun.
Yep.
And maybe Saturn is a mined sun. If you talk to Azazel, the watcher, the fallen angel, he says, I am trapped in Saturn's moon Mimas. And we want you to crack open Mimas so we can become gods in this materiality with you. And I think it was a huge war over Saturn in our past's history, forgotten. Jason Reza Giuliani are talking about Zeus as a demiurge. And there is a truth to that as well. The star Sirius was Enki's star. But before Enki, it was the Hopi Lovecraftian old ancient one, Dagon's star. Dagon, the fish god. And Christianity's symbol from the beginning was two fishes and an anchor. And Enki, another name for Enki was Poseidon in Greek mythology. And was involved in the creation of Atlantis with Atlas and Prometheus. And if I can share with you the Luciferian or Promethean version, they try to save humanity from the golem god when the golem god tried to drown us within the flood. Prometheus seeded a spark within us in order so we can transcend the demiurge prison, to ignite this spark. But when you do, be very careful so you don't fall for these forces as well and become something you don't want to. You have to overcome them and work with them, but not pray for them. Don't end up in Belphegor's maze. And in The Shining, you have this maze, you have this dead, the Indian burial places, you have skeletons, ghosts, dead people. Everything is connected to Belphegor's realm, Thagirion. And if you get stuck there, that's what you become. And in the movie Artificial Intelligence, Stanley Kubrick was the one who should do it, and I think, but then Steven Spielberg got the script. But in that movie, you can see the design is open mouth with trains going through in big cities, technology, and a lot of sexual imagery. Belphegor is said to be the opener of gaps, and the mouth is one of the gaps, Belphegor gaps, the cracks behind the words you can go into in order to end up on the other side or stuck within if you're not careful.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, when Stanley Kubrick died and Steven Spielberg took over. Well, let's not get into that.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Really,
yeah, no, I don't think anybody here does.
No, because what Stanley Kubrick wanted to do with artificial intelligence was to expand upon these movies and make a transhumanistic dystopia where the humanity was trapped within Thagirion or Belphegor's realm. They weren't really living, and they weren't dead either. And the gap, the open mouth, is a symbol for Belphegor, and there were trains going in tunnels with open mouth in his design for the futuristic city that should end up in the movie AI. So he knew about this. It was very, very versed in esoteric lore, I have to say. Very, very versed. And the maze and the burial ground in The Shining, all of that. And the scene didn't make it into the movie. I remember, if I remember correctly, it was skeletons in some rooms where Danny's mother went through. Everything points to Thagirion and Belphegor's realm, the Sun Room. I think that's the wrap up of everything. I hope it makes sense for you. I don't know if you have any questions.
Great. This was brilliant. I think this is your best one. You hit all the right notes, and I think you make a good case for everything. Good job. Vance, before we go, since it's been more than 2 hours, any questions from the audience or yourself?
Not really, except for one thing I was wondering. Do we have any information that shows that Stanley Kubrick actually studied all these esoteric things? I mean, there's so many connections, and he was so busy with his filmmaking. Any evidence that Stanley actually did this consciously?
Yeah, there are one. There were one researcher. I don't remember his name. They found an esoteric book belonging to Stanley Kubrick. And it was a ridiculous one. It was like a new beginner's guide to the esoteric lore. So this was like a mocking of Stanley Kubrick, because they knew he had a huge library when he was studying to his different movies. He studied everything. About Napoleon, for example, he had his own library. So they found a silly esoteric book like you buy in a New Age bullshit store kind of thing. And they were showing it up. Look, it was versed in esoteric practices, but really just silly. What I think happened is this. The first movie Stanley Kubrick directed, The Shadow, not something, very young when he made the movie. And it was about Carl Jung, The Shadow. So already there, Stanley Kubrick was interested in esoteric stuff through Carl Jung. And Carl Jung was interested in the Nag Hammadi library, in the alchemical processes.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was interested from a very, very early age until his last day, 70 years old. So you have 50 years of study on esoteric lore. So yes, I think it was very, very, very well versed. And when they took up the bullshit New Age bullshit book, it was to mock him, obviously, because they knew that Stanley Kubrick was a heavy researcher in the subject he put into his movie, and many of his book was about esoteric philosophies or theories.
Yeah, his library would be a great source of evidence on that.
Yeah, but I cannot prove it. I can only tell you what I feel.
Yeah, that would make sense. Awesome. Well, I think we better wrap it up. Yeah, I'd like to thank the audience. Great questions. Titillated. I don't know if it was Grandpong or Vance wanted to do Gnostic themes and Hogan's Heroes. I was like, yeah, I am in. Although the Zoomers and Millennials might be triggered with all this mention of National Socialists making jokes and all that. But anyway, something to rebound. Thanks for the support, Chester. You too, Alexis. Really appreciate great questions. And yeah, David, thank you for being here. We will have the recording out, audio tomorrow. I've got jiu-jitsu and the girls doing the Nutcracker tonight. So I'll be busy, but I'll have it. But it will be out on YouTube. I'll put it on Rockfin today. And yeah, David, when you want to come back and talk about the Nephilim and the Watchers and the Wizard of Oz, let's do it. But thank you very much for a really fascinating presentation.
Thank you a lot, Miguel. And I'm very glad to come back and decode the Wizard of Oz for sure and for the first time. I don't want to sound like a know-it-all besserwisser bullshitter, but in the case of the Wizard of Oz, I'm not that impressed. I think the most people are talking about the book and not the movie.
I see.
So
No, it makes sense. It makes sense, and it was great. Well, Vance, thanks for keeping us company. I know that at the beginning they were arguing about a Swedish citizen, but it wasn't David. It was Greta Thunberg. I don't know. It was an argument about like, what are we doing here? I was like,
one of the witches in Oz, maybe.
Yeah, I call her Greta Thornburg because she's a thorn in our side.
Poor girl, horrible.
Yeah, I have no opinion, but I think it was interesting. Well, awesome. Well, thanks, Vance. And
yeah, a lot of fun.
I think that's it. We'll probably have an AB Live show next week on Hermeticism and alchemy, but more to come, a lot of more shows. So keep coming back. And as I always say, continue to write your own gospel and live your own myth. And everybody have a good weekend and your holidays. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Miguel.